All right, joining us today is a guy that if you don't know who he is by now, well, then you should. A Bad Boy Joey Janela is here. Joey, man, how's it going?
Hey, I'm just enjoying. Ate some chimichangas. I got a little food baby in my stomach. I'm laying here. I feel like I'm gonna pass away. Within this podcast. So, if you don't hear from me, if you don't hear from me a couple minutes, I just probably died.
There you go. Now, Joey, from what I understand, you're an Asbury Park, New Jersey native. And from what I hear, you never got that traditional training. Or I also read that you blindly lied kind of your way into the business at the age of 15. How did you get into this crazy world of professional wrestling?
Well, I was a backyard wrestler, and I kind of knew this guy who was a local independent wrestler, and we knew who he was from local shows. And one day we see him at the movie theater, and we were like, "Hey, come backyard with us." And this guy, we thought his gimmick was that he was a bad wrestler. Apparently not. That was real life, because he would go for springboards and stuff and fall on his face, and we thought that was just the act. So to us, this guy was like, "Wow, this guy's the best." And then we seen him at the movie theater, we're like, "Wow, it's really him." And basically he came to the backyard with us, and he had into the wrestling business, and I asked him how I got in, how to get in the business, and he basically said, "Come and set up a couple rings, and we'll get you right in there."
Nice. Now, how long did you do like the backyard wrestling, I guess, before you went to maybe an indie promotion, if you will?
Probably like, probably like 4 or 5 years.
Nice. And now, were you still at that point, kind of, if you will, self-trained, or did you kind of just get, kind of train in the ring as you go kind of thing?
Yeah, just train as you go. I just wanted to get in a wrestling ring, that was like my goal. And just basically lied to promoters, told them I was trained somewhere, and, some of them bought it and would go and, put on absolute shit shows. But till basically, just learn the ropes and learn as I go until I got a little bit of formal training through some places and seminars and camps and stuff, and that's how things came together.
No, for sure. I was watching this little mini documentary that our buddy on the show sent us, Mike Cologne. It was a YouTube mini documentary, and I was watching it. It was really cool, and I understand from it that Steve Austin was a big influence on you growing up. Well, I believe pretty much for most of us he was in a way. But maybe what was the reason? Did you really just get behind Stone Cold?
I think it's the reason everyone got behind Steve Austin. It's just a badass, Didn't take kindly to authority, and me being, the little juvenile delinquent I was, being in school and never listening to the teachers or the principals and the vice principals. You kind of relate to that, and I don't know, Steve Austin, he was just cool,
No, for sure.
Drinking beers and just beating up his boss, and flipping the birds. And I guess every kid in my school, back then, I think watched the WWF, and Steve Austin was a big part of that.
No, for sure. Now, without having to tell the whole story of the infamous roof spot with CZW diehard John Zandig, which was insane, and I'm glad you're alive. But how did that moment change your life, maybe physically and mentally, just moving forward? Because, that was like a do-or-die situation, if you will, and you did it. You didn't die, but it was pretty insane.
Yeah, it was near death, probably. 1 inch or 1 foot either way could have really did some damage, more than a chimichanga. But it's just it's just one of those moments that I wanted to go back in time and change it, but I definitely wouldn't do it again. But it definitely elevated my stock on a different level from some of these guys. And I can't tell you how many independent wrestlers are willing to take something like that. Probably about one. Probably just me. So, it was definitely a crazy spot, and it was definitely a crazy moment just to, that day and getting there and thinking, there's a possibility I might die doing this, but whatever.
No, for sure.
You know, it's either do or die at that point. Did I think it was going to blow up like it did? Absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely. Well, how about this? You know, the whole hardcore aspect to wrestling, from ECW to CZW. How long can one last as a hardcore wrestler? Or is there ever like an escape clause kind of for you to where you just reach a point and you're like, you know, I did a bunch of this. I'm done with it kind of a thing?
Yeah, there's certain guys that get in the business just to do the deathmatch scene. And, you know, it depends how long their career lasts. A lot of them not too long. I'm not a deathmatch guy. I've only done 3 or 4 death matches. Even though I bring a lot of the deathmatch aspect into mainstream independent professional wrestling, I kind of, you know, it's just right now, I feel like I do my kind of hardcore style wrestling, and, you know, it's, you know, I am very safe with myself and others, and that's it. It's about safety and making your career last as long as you can make some money.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now you're also quoted as saying, "I'm never ever mailing it in." What does that mean to you? Maybe, and just basically your mentality, if you could explain to everybody, because you know, basically for people that you know maybe don't know or watch too much wrestling, but you know, somebody that's either left the WWE or just somebody who's been a vet in the business, they're used to maybe wrestling in front of bigger crowds to where, you know, on the indie scene, you're not going to get a huge crowd everywhere, but, you know, when you get that small crowd, are some of these guys just mailing it in, if you will, compared to like what you're saying, that you're never ever going to, you know, you're never ever mailing it in?
A lot of the guys, they get to a certain point where they stick to a formula. It's basically the same thing as like a stand-up comedian. They go town to town and they do the same shtick, and I'm never going to do that. It's just, you know, I like to give every crowd something different, and that essentially them doing the same shtick everywhere is kind of mailing it in because they know it works, and you know it works for them. But you know, I'm a little bit more spicy with my stuff, and just like to change it up, and you know, no matter what the crowd size is, 10, 30, you know, 1,000, 10,000, you know, you're going to get something different. You're going to get something cool.
Sure. Now, let's go back a little bit. Joey Janela's Spring Break in 2016, you were given that chance with GCW to kind of put on a show during WrestleMania weekend, maybe that nobody else was doing. How did you come about this? And, you know, did you think it probably would have blown up as much of a show that weekend? Because I know everybody that I talked to loved it, seen it, or has went to it. Can you tell me a little bit about the first Joey Janela Spring Break?
Well, Game Changers, they got a slot with WWN. They're more than Mania festivities, and they're trying to figure out how to make it work, and they know that I'm a very, even back then, I definitely didn't have half the followers I did now on Instagram and Twitter. They knew I would somehow be able to make it work, and we'd all be able to make it work. So we got that slot. We made the best out of it, and we were just trying to see what kind of oddball situations we can book and what dream matches, and have a little bit of everything. And you know, I thought it was gonna be a complete disaster up until like 5 minutes before the show, but you know, it just everything clicked and everything worked. And you know, that's why we're bringing it back. You know, it's just and this year it's going to be twice as huge as it was last year in terms of show quality and crowd size.
Definitely. Yeah, and Mike Colon on the show, he's sending me a tweet that John Pollock sent out at I am John Pollock on, I think, February 21st, stating, I don't know if you know this or somebody said anything, but it says, I spoke with a member of the Louisiana Boxing and Wrestling Commission today, and they confirmed that blood and pile drivers are prohibited on professional wrestling shows regarding WrestleMania week shows in and around New Orleans. There'll be more info to update or something like that. Is that, I don't know, does that affect you in any way with that? Do you have any thoughts on the Louisiana State Commission rules are?
No, and not every wrestling match, every wrestling show needs blood to be good. And if you're not calling a move pile driver, then is it a pile driver? That's
good.
it.
That's a good point.
You could say, like, I could bust out a package pile driver, and they could be like, oh yeah, that was just a power bomb. They don't know the difference.
I love it. Yeah.
These guys are just state athletic commission guys, and they're just there to, it's just a money grab, and they're there to get some money and, collected. State athletic commissions, when it comes to professional wrestling, it's always been a money scam, and I think a lot of it's ridiculous.
No, well put.
With mixed martial arts and boxing, I think it's a different case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But with professional wrestling, I don't know, like, pile drivers being banned is kind of funny. But I think I'll bust out a pile driver here and there this weekend just to see what happens.
There you go. Now, tell me a little bit about what's coming up, because one thing I want to point out that what's kind of unique about promoting the next spring break is that you're working with Wrestling Arcade. They're doing promos for you, and I think is one of the greatest things out there because everybody's tuning in to see what the next match is going to be at your show. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got maybe hooked up with Wrestling Arcade and just a little bit more getting into your next spring break show?
Most of the guy that does all my promos is guy John Carlo. He's really a mastermind on wrestling vignettes. He does probably every promo that we've come out so far besides that one. We wanted to switch it up a little bit, and I came up with this idea. The Wrestling Arcade guy, I like his work, and he likes mine, and we teamed up for an ad in Fighting Spirit magazine in England. He featured me in his graphic design service ad, so I figured I'd give him a shout to try to do something different from one of the trailers, and Game Changer got together, and we got together the funds to provide to him, and it came out, blew everyone away.
Nice.
And it's just it definitely was something different, and took a month. He thought it would take a week, and he was stressed out beyond belief, but he got it done, and everything worked out, and now his inbox is blowing up, and that's all I wanted for the guy.
No, yeah, it's just like it's so how he did it. I mean, it's so to the just like you're playing an old school game or whatever. So I mean, hats off to him. For everybody listening to that, check out Wrestling Arcade on Twitter. Just Google it. But tell me more. Tell me about this year's spring break. What can the fans see? Where can they see it? How can they get tickets? And all that other stuff.
It's going to be about 11:55 p.m. on Friday. We don't want to confuse anybody, so we're not saying exactly midnight, and that can bring a lot of confusion, but it's going to be in the chart train? I don't know how to pronounce that. It's where all the other More Than Mania festivities are happening. Go to morethanmania.com. You can find everything there. Progress is running. Evolve is running. All the hottest, independent professional wrestling companies. You can find tickets there. We're nearly 1,000 tickets sold right now, so you better get your tickets fast because we're definitely selling out this year. And we got great Sasuke's coming. His first match in America in about 9 years.
Wow.
He'll be wrestling some guy named Joey Janela. He's just some jabroni guy, I guess, from New Jersey. I don't know. I don't even think he's that good. I watched some GIFs of him, and he just doesn't look like, a lot of hype behind him. He just doesn't look like he cuts the mustard, obviously. But anyways, we got that. We got Walter versus Pierre-Carl Ouellet, from the Quebecers.
Nice.
He's coming back, and he's got a whole new arsenal of stuff, 50 years old.
Wow. And
he's going to be getting to steal the show. Mike Quackenbush versus David Starr, the match speaks for itself. And
awesome.
This show, we're bringing the clusterfuck back. The very talked about clusterfuck from last year, which is basically a Royal Rumble with no time cues. It's basically a free-for-all of people coming out when they want to come out. And that's why it's a clusterfuck, because it probably doesn't make any sense. And, we have about 3 or 4 more matches to be announced. The clusterfuck this year will probably be, besides a few people, pretty much a surprise for the most part. So it'll be Mystery Vortex style, the gathering to make it more interesting for that night. And you can also watch us on iPay-per-view live stream at WWN Live. It's their new service. I don't know what it's called. I really don't have a sheet of paper with all this information, as I should. Basically promoting the show, so I should be a good promoter and have all this information, but I can't even announce the venue correctly.
No, it's a tough one, Joey. I think, don't worry, everybody listening too. We're going to put the links up where everybody can buy it, but just so they hear it, it's a tough name to say. Nobody, I don't think we can't even say it, so we'll put the links so everybody can.
Some kind of French Louisiana name.
That's it. Well, Joey, man, I wish I could talk to you all night. Great hearing from you. I wish you nothing but the best this year. I can't wait for spring break too. And thanks for coming by, man. We really appreciate it. And actually, where can fans follow you on social media?
Janela Baby on Twitter, like Janela, my last name, and a little infant baby, not B-A-B-E, like the clothing line from the late 90s. But yeah, find me on Twitter, Instagram, the Bad Boy Joey Janela, and don't add me on Facebook. I don't want to talk to you, so please, I got too many Facebook friends. Facebook is getting annoying. I got a lot of people trying to slip in my inbox and ask me questions. So don't do that.
There you go. The Bad Boy Joey Janela. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, bud. Appreciate it.